focusing on revolutions of industries, especially in the advent of Industry 4.0, considering na we are awash with a lot of data now that comes in different forms and different structures. And that data is considered to be the new oil, according to an article in Harvard Business Review. So the book written by Tony Hayes, Stuart Tansley, and Kristen Toll, entitled The Fourth Paradigm, Data Intensive Scientific Discovery, points on the importance of data, which is now the currency of countries in terms of decision making. When we consider before gold as first of all, after petroleum, after oil, and after gold. And whoever holds so much data would actually maximize their decision making. So imagine yourselves being in charge of a country and you are torn apart by the crashing of the stock market, and what would be the solutions that you're going to do. And then if in case you are in a warfare, or you're in war against a country and there are specific massive withdrawals of of investors in your country, what would be your likely scenario that you're going to choose? You know, so there could be probability that you would select this, and what would be the probable outcome based on the data that's coming to your office. So nevertheless, the fourth paradigm tells us that data nowadays is the next big thing. So for one, if in case you're already aware with how data analytics are being rolled out, it's not just statistics. No? So it's actually a combination of multitudes of disciplines, which encompasses a lot of topics such as future web, web science, policy of the use of the superficial web and the dark web, as well as its social implications. We also have other disciplines such as data science, science, and data frameworks, and all others that grounds on computer science, computer engineering, philosophy, and even statistics. So all of these are multitudes of research themes or disciplines that are touched by data science and data analytics. Our focus now, since we're in predictive analytics, is to understand the applications of data science for meaningful predictions. Okay? So, ano ba ang mga possible dissertation topics na pwede niyong piliin? It could be grounded on government data or data governance. It could be open data governance, the use of applications, mobile or web, or even CCTVs in the storage of massive data, linking of these databases to provide synchronized and structured decision making. We also have topics that are under environmental informatics, such as ecosystems informatics, the study or the simulation or the application of data science to simulate the melting of sea ice. Why would it matter to you? Because if in case you're an environmentalist, you're going to create a computer simulation of how fast sea ice will melt, thus affecting the climate that the world is now experiencing, the climate changes that the world are actually experiencing nowadays. So data science can also be used in ocean imagery. You don't need to use submarines to look on the pictures or the structure of the seafloor, because data science could basically map that out for you based on echolocations, the use of sonars, and some replications of sounds of animals depending on the depth and depending on the light and darkness in the ocean floor. So we call it ocean image. Even carbon footprint, carbon emissions are detected or predicted using specific indicators that can actually use to identify whether this contributes to the amount of carbon dioxide in our gases. So, syempre, application din yan ng predictive analytics. Pwede natin gamitin ang data science dyan. For healthcare, of course, uso karon ang image processing sa mga cancer cells, even images of tuberculosis spots in your lungs. We're going to use large data sets that are available in the website and use it to create a predictive model, which could actually be meaningful, no, for public health and public decision making. And of course, identification of possible likely scenarios of death and being able to survive death using health records from previous patients depending on the sickness that they have. So meron tayong large-scale clinical data na pwede gamitin. So all in all, the concept of data science is not only bordered on statistics, it's also bordered in the understanding of your discipline, the philosophy behind the specific discipline that you are currently engaged in, and of course, where data comes into that scenario. So it could be, kadalasan kasi when we hear the word data, sometimes our perception in it is yung pwede natin ma-survey, yung andyan na in terms of records. But if in case you're going to look at what data looks like, it's basically encompassing in different structures. It could be structured, it could be semi-structured, or it could be unstructured data. So data, the moment that data comes in, or the moment that data is created or gathered, that can be actually processed into meaningful bits of information. So the information that you have is as good as the data that you have in your hands. Now, your data is gathered or created if in case hindi siya available, and thus it's processed, it's pre-processed and processed so that you can glean patterns in it. And those patterns can actually come up with information, and the information that you have can be presented or organized into something that's easy to be understood by your stakeholders. So the information that you have will then create knowledge, which can actually be used to be which can actually be coming as a way of gleaning from the patterns or information that you get from the data. So ano ba ang basihan mo in the creation of your knowledge? Based on the patterns of the data that you have from your information, it's going to be integrated with experience. It's going to be integrated with common sense. It's going to be integrated with your current conversation that is available in your field. And you're going to sense-make that information so that it becomes knowledge. Take note of the word sense-making. Sense-making is being able to laymanize those information coming from the patterns of data that you have, and then inject the possible philosophy that could simplify this information into easily digestible statements or easily digestible or understandable concepts. Okay? So all of these are actually boiling down to your data. So the data is just there, but what adds reality in it is the context that is actually your information and knowledge. The information and knowledge would add interpretation to the data that you have gathered or collected thus far. Okay? So data science is more, kung tatanungin natin, saan ba papasok yung tinatawag natin na statistics? Papasok ang statistics, rejection or acceptance of null hypothesis in the information side. Because that would actually give us an idea whether the characteristics of your sample is true with your population. And then, how do you present it? You're going to present it in tabular form. You're going to present it in the graphical form. That's basically information. Now, that information will lead you to say in your knowledge that there will be significant difference, significant relationship, something like that. So this is the realm of statistics. But on the other hand, the realm of data science, data analytics is looking at the data in itself rather than looking at the probability and possibility of similarity or difference of your data sets or groups, your data sets according to your groupings or according to whether they are dependent or independent with one another. Ang concern ng data science is more of understanding how data is captured, how they can be integrated, and how can we check whether this data matters to you or it's actually something that matches with your context. Okay? So titingnan natin whether that data is structured, unstructured, if it needs transformation, if in case we need to convert it, we need to stabilize or make it stationary so that we can understand it or use it for forecasting or for prediction or something. Anyway, microphone check. Are you still there?
Yes, no.
Yes po,
Po,
Doc.
po.
Makita pa man niyo akong slides.
Yes po, no.
Yes, Doc.
So far, kamusta naman ako? Okay pa? Na-process
Yes,
pa?
Doc.
Sige, sige. Medyo meron tayong lagging, meron tayong, may choppy tayo. But anyway, you can actually turn off your video if in case your signal is not that okay. Sige, let's continue. Now, you know, when you are engaged in data science or if in case you're enrolled in predictive analytics, what would be the applications? No? Hindi ko lang kayo tuturuan kung ano yung algorithms na supposedly fitting for this. But of course, how could you contextualize those algorithms, those kinds of data structures, those kinds of data type, or the type of data that you have, how could it match the context? Remember, the reason why I'm asking you where you are currently connected or what are your programs, because in the context of your organization or job, you might have data in there that's really waiting for you to analyze it. And then it could actually answer one of the pressing problems that you have been encountering in your organization. And hindi nyo lang siya nakita because wala kayong specific skill set or your paradigm maybe was on statistical rather than data science. So meaning to say, we would be, in predictive analytics and machine learning, we would be encountering a lot of examples that are from different disciplines so that you would appreciate its, you know, its praxis rather than the theory and the equations that we would be discussing. So ano ba ang mga realm pa ng data science, no, or ng data analytics? Apart from data science, which is very broad, it's broad because you would have their machine learning as it's one of its branches, deep learning, pati yung data engineering, feature extraction, mga algorithms, part yan ng data science. We also have specific applications in the field of geospatial analytics or the use of GIS for decision making. So GIS or the Geographic Information System. Some of you here are forestry graduates and you know for one that GIS is very essential, especially in the mapping out of tree species, its distribution in the forest or in the jungles, and the possible damages brought about by kaingin, deforestation, and you're going to map if in case the forest has still the forest cover that is suitable for sustaining life. So GIS is also one of the applications of data science, particularly in geospatial analytics. So we also have the applications of data science in terms of language, also the understanding of the relationship of the words in a post and the emotions attributed to it. So it's semantic e-science. We also have other applications, including public policy and business and economics and econometric forecasting and whatnot. So for data science, ito yung ating concern, no? Kasi a lot ng data scientists now are still not really aware of what data science is. Most of them would still subscribe na dapat ang itudlo sa data science is stat. It's technically acceptable and is correct that we need to learn statistics to understand data, but then data science is not only statistics. Okay, so it's just one segment in the understanding of data science. So sabi din ng data science, tanaw na to aning Venn diagram. You have math and stat knowledge as your fundamentals. Now, we also have substantive expertise, or we call it domain-specific knowledge or domain-specific expertise. And then Third is hacking skills. Programming. Dapat kabalo ka mo program. So when you when you converge hacking or programming skills with math and stat, we call it machine learning. When you converge math and statistics with substantive domain-specific knowledge or expertise, that's that's research. But then if you merge substantive domain-specific expertise with programming and hacking skills, that's already dangerous. Because in the first place, when you know the operations, when you know how the operations work in, and you can tweak or manipulate that particular data set, that's already dangerous in there. So you can lead to misinformation, or you can actually create faulty decisions out from possible intrusions that you did for the data that is stored in the computers. Medyo delikado na dyan aside. But then all of these three, when they converge together, is data science. So when you are a data scientist, you know programming, or at least you're comfortable with reading codes. Second one is you know math and stat, and then you have domain-specific expertise. Okay, so now since data science is an application of modern informatics, that means that there are a lot of processes involved in the actual field of data science. So as it's stated here, modern informatics enables a new scale-free framework approach. For example, if in case you are torn between the three traditions or paradigms of research, quanti, quali, mixed methods, kunya kung phenomenology, kay dapat ingani imong tradition, dapat ingani ang imong process according to Paul Kinghorn in 2000. If in case pod mag-quanti ka, unsa man imong quanti? Is it exploratory factor analysis? Ngano mag exploratory factor analysis man ka? Unsa may mga steps nimo sa exploratory factor analysis? Sometimes naatay mga specific laid out na mga processes na for those statistical approaches or for those research designs. But in data science, it's basically sabog, you know, because you can do a lot of things and it only concerns with data. Because there is no such thing as a finite process in data science. In fact, data science is a continuous quest for evaluation. Thus, data science or data analytics is iterative in nature. So bakit siya iterative? Because it is always in a loop. It's infinite because you're going to reevaluate and reevaluate and fit and fit and fit according to the context. That's why prediction models for grades, or if in case you're going to use grades to predict board exam performances of students now, whatever accuracy rate you have 10 years ago may not be the same accuracy that you can come up in the current generation of learners, because the data changes over time, the context changes over time, and you're going to include that in your modeling procedure. Meaning to say, if in case your model is 98% accurate na ang grade sa bata mo'y makadetermine sa ilahang pagpasar sa board exam, that's only true in that particular scenario. But since ang data science ay iterative man, your data in there might not be suitable to really explain future decision-making or future outcomes of board exam passing. Maybe may mga nagbago over time and you need to redefine the parameters so that you can actually say that, or you can actually say na talagang ang model mo is not infinite or it's not forever. So kung ang moingon sila nga ang model to explain board exam performance is y hat equals to 75.11 plus 2.5 x subgrade. Maog na gyud na siya, forever na gyud na siya nga ingana na gyud ang iyang value sa iyang coefficient, sa iyang slope ug sa iyang intercept ug sa iyang coefficient. Hindi. If in case ang stat yan ang kanyang finding, that's true to the data that he has. But in data science, you're going to fit and refit that data set in the addition of new data that's coming in and try to find out if in case the same accuracy happens in the current generation of learners. So if we laymanize that discussion, ang ato ang kuan ba for example sa University of Mindanao katong nag-study mi sa una og prediction of board performance of criminology students. Nakita na mo ang model is 85% accurate and that grades explain a significant variance of your R square. So for example, ang R square nato for grades explaining board exam performance is about say 60%. But right now, kung tanaw na mo ang bagong nga data, it's just 10%. So ano ba ang reason bakit pumasa? Na 10% naman din ang variation sa imong grades. Ano ba ang mga factors pala na pwede mag-explain sa current performance of board exam passers? So it's a quest for evaluation. So as we can see here, since our data governance has now gradually become open and data is being shared, napugnan lang because of wrong interpretation sa Data Privacy Act of 2012. Kana ganing na maka-encounter mo anag ka na ay mga sa inyong data sa inyong office na niya, sige na i-invoke ang Data Privacy Act, dili pwede mangayo. Dili ko na siya tinuod class, dili ko na siya absolute nga rule. Ano man? Because in the first place, all data have to be accessible. However, the ones who access it have to be given limitations. So for example, if in case ang mga ana is ang department head, di man gyud ka pwede mingon ana nga ay kanang Data Privacy Act bawal ka mo tanaw ani. Naman tay ginatawag nato na clearance level. So for example, board exam performance sa CHED, allowed ba ang mga student training assistants mo access ana? Of course, that's not part of their clearance. So data security clearance nimo is level 1, so pwede ra ka ana mo receive sa report, di ka pwede mo abri sa envelope. If in case you are a staff, level 2 ang imong clearance, you're not supposed to read individually kung unsaan ka ng unsa ani ang performance ani nga bata. You can actually just open it, you can actually arrange it according to school year, but you are not allowed to check kung kinsa nakapasar ba sa performance ani sa una ni Murcia, something like that. You're not allowed to do it. But if in case you have a maximum clearance, that means ikaw ang administrator or ang dean, pwede ka ayon na siya. No? In the context of the government, siguro naman tayo ginatawag nato na portal na pwede ta mag-request of data. We call it EFOI portal. So the freedom for information. Sometimes makita na ako dito ang request for access of the data set, but then they would say that they're invoking Data Privacy Act. But if in case kung pabalikan mo ang Data Privacy Act, titingnan mo ang intention, titingnan mo kung ano ang purpose, titingnan mo if in case there is conflict of interest. You need to look on the ethical considerations of the requesting party. You need to check whether this is used for commercial or educational purposes. If in case there is a need for you to have a non-disclosure agreement so that they would use only the data strictly for academic something, you need to do that. Hindi pwede na magsasabi ka lang permanente na, ay, Data Privacy Act, Data Privacy Act. Hindi ko naman sinasabi na 4-piece info chart. Anyway. Now, we have here the quest, open world is evolving, repetition, iteration, redesignment, and redeployment. So meaning to say, it's continuous and iterative in nature because of the addition of new data with different context in it. Second one is because of that evolution, iteration, redesigning, that also means that there are new prototypes, new models, new frameworks, new prediction equations that could come out. Okay? So apart from it, meron tayo ditong leverage technology infrastructure. So, ang data mo ngayon is good only for school year 2009-2010. Now, your prediction for that can be done by a simple SPSS. But if in case mag-big data ka na, mag-millions na imong data set, does your current IT infrastructure warrant for a simulation na pwede ra sa laptop or sa MacBook computer nimo i-run? Kasi by experience, makaya ra nato mag-stat og 1,000 kabuok observations, cross-sections, pwede ra nato makobisan pa nag 50 kabuok columns or cross-sections, and then 1,000, something like that. We can your normal SPSS can handle that. But if in case we're talking here of 280,000 data na nasa Excel, do you think your processor can make it? Or basig matinga na lang kang wa pa nahuman si SPSS og load diha, maglisod ta ana. So alongside with the higher computational power of your computer for your desire to do prediction of big data also demands for better technology and infrastructure. Okay? So, afterwards, apart from IT infrastructure, we also need to learn different technologies in adaptation to the current, in adaptation to the changes of the sources of the data. So, nung una, hindi natin mako-consider si picture as your data. But right now, pictures or images can be considered as a source of your data. I'll give you an example. Okay. Yeah. The mode is so arthritis. Di siya nag-load it. Check sana ako si Chrome ha kung pwede kay Chrome. Medyo ito yung problema natin kay Safari. Okay. Check natin. Google that. Hello. Data sets. Okay, we can go in. Let's say our data set is COVID X ray.
Dok, anong data na naa sa Kaggle are all legit data ba?
Yan lang ang problema natin, no? Kasi hindi natin ma-assure talaga na legitimate ang data natin. But kung titingnan mo, makikita mo naman siya based on sino ang nag-upload, kung saan ang source. Kasali kasi sa dataset dito is apart from the data frame, it also includes the metadata information. So for example, this one is COVID-19 chest X-ray. It was up. It has 141 codes to discussions. Asa man siya kinsa may nag-contribute. So it gives you this particular information, kinsa ang asa siya gikuha, kinsa nga company ang nag-upload. So kamo na bahala mo check ana. Even the variables that are included here are already identified. So for example, ano ba ang possible ba na ang data natin is pictures. So, kung titingnan natin, i-click natin ito, it's basically a picture. So, ano ba ang nangyari? This is just raw data ha, pero ano ang ginamit niya sa ganing analysis? Ginamit niya ang deep learning. Gumamit siya ng specific deep learning so that he can use those images and predict whether or not the future X-ray na iyahang na ato ang isubmit or makuha would be detected if in case sick ba siya sa COVID or not sick sa COVID based on previous na mga X-ray information. So, ang ginawa niya dito, naggamit siya ng Python and then nag-plot siya diri, i-train niya ang mga previous nga X-ray dataset. Tapos, ang yung training, ayan, kikita niyo dito ang even the pixels are actually even identified. I-pre-process ang image and then gitan-aw kung pila ang image diri na medyo naisakit ang unsa and then nag-model building siya. Ang model building niya is more of identification whether the true positives or those talagang may sakit ng COVID na-detect na may sakit yung lung na yan. So, ang ginawa niya, gumamit siya ng specific algorithms and gumamit siya ng TensorFlow in order to check whether the images are true COVID sick, something like that. And afterwards, evaluate niya ang model kung accurate ba siya by checking at its loss evolution and accuracy. So saan siya accurate? Accurate siya at 5. Pinaka-accurate siya at 5 based on this plotting. So kung titingnan natin, etong mga 0, 1 dyan, this is actually identified as whether they are COVID negative or COVID positive based on the pictures. So kung titingnan mo, wala kayo makita diha nga table nga nag-ingon nga i-reject nimo ang null hypothesis or accept nimo ang null hypothesis. Because the intention of deep learning here is to check or use these images whether these previous images as a data set could actually be used to predict future X-rays and detect whether COVID is existing or not in those X-ray images. Something like that. No? So kung turn niya nga naa siya Rolex, katong gibash siya, nga ang iya daw gipost, kay gikuha ra daw niya sa internet. So how would a person know whether the picture posted in Instagram or in the web is really his or hers. Balikan natin tong konteksto kang Sharon Cuneta. Sharon Cuneta posted Rolex. Okay. Sharon Cuneta posted
Rolex.
about Rolex.
Yan.
So, Sharon Cuneta clarifies issue of not having the real Rolex from her IG post. Now, kung titingnan natin, ang unang niyang pinost, yan. However, she was accused of screen grabbing this from somebody, from another image, no? Kasi this particular image, when somebody did a reverse image search of this, it actually give this image. Which means, kung tanawon mo class, mo ni ang i-post, tapos get reverse image, pero kini. Which is kini ang nauna og post compared ani. So do you think Sharon Cuneta really screen grabbed this from another post, which is this one? Kung tutuusin, ang ginawa nila, i-upload ni Sharon, karon kay naghan magbasher si Sharon ato, ikuha ni nga image, gi-upload nila sa usa ka website na nag-reverse image or a reverse image search, and it resulted to this
Bain ka
one.
lang. Cup noodles?
Kalami sa cup noodles sa anak ron. Uy, it's not to ron.
Ay, sorry, sir.
Okay. So, ang reason, because of that reverse image search, gibash siya maayo, and she posted another picture showing of or flaunting her nanagin siya Rolex ngayong ato. Pero again, di ba, I mean, technology nowadays can actually be used in order to identify whether the picture is really authentic. Ikaw mismo ang nagkuha or hindi. No? So that's thanks to data science pa rin. Because in fact, ang reverse image search database contains millions of images that can be used to detect saan dyan ang exactly the same na kinuha mo. So yung mga talagang nagnanakaw ng picture para may pang-flaunt lang, really cool but kind of scary na application of data science, especially in the use of. Now, kung maghatag siyang probability match, tanaw ni siyang top 10 kung kinsa ang likely nagmatch aning nga. Even if mag-cover ka sa imuhang mag-mask baka ana, pati ang imong mata, ang imong features, ang imong sheet sa imong ana, i-appeal na niya og scan. And then maghatag na siya, tapos i-track ang imong movement ana wherever you go. So dito siya nasampan. So how is that possible? It's possible because of image processing and video imagery. So kind of cool and kind of scary. Okay. So apart from it, apart from the images, apart from the cross-sectional data that you have, apart from time series data, there are a lot of sources of data. No? Kung tutuusin natin, ang pinaka-center or pinaka-focus ng data set is this person or a member of the cross-section, or we call it response unit or respondent. So siya. Now, taken all together, of course, if in case you want to uncover the data set from a group of people or from a household or from a community, then you can get it basically via face-to-face survey or via interaction. And then more than that, more than the cross-section, more than the household, more than the community, dito na papasok ang other sources of data. That includes imagery, numbers, letters, post ni Trump, i-identify ba nimo kung racist or dili based on specific algorithms that identify racism. Makita nimo ang iyahang emotion, something like that. Kung mag-post, kung kini nga specific unsa, ma-identify ba siya nga positive, negative, or neutral. So kana siya. And then apart from imagery, katong akong ipakita sa inyo ng mga X-ray data, ang higher pa ana nga unsa, ang mas complex ana ang radio, microwave, television, and telephony. Kining mga kining mga data coming in from in these forms. And then more than that, wireless databases and internet or information superhighway. And more complex than that is cloud computing, intelligence of crowds, constant contact or networks of millions of phone subscribers, and sensor networks. One cool but very easy daw, pero di na ako makaya sa powers. Kana ganing magpasok siguro kayo sa Abrisa, kanang automatic mag-count kung naay vacant park or full ba ang park or pila ka book ang nabilin based on sensors. So when somebody parks from here, that sensor will become red. If in case it's available, it's green, and automatic mag-calculate ang katong iyahang kuan, maglabay siya sa database nga mauni ang na-occupy based on that, which is reflected in the computer. And then automatically, mag-ihap dito kung pila ang nabilin or full na ba ang capacity. So that's park sensors, and it's also one of the attributes of a smart city. No, na data science or data analytics ang nagapadagan or data science ang nagapadagan. Now, where are we in this ecosystem of discussion? Remember that you're enrolled in predictive analytics, so dito tayo papasok. Ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng predictive analytics? It's the application of analytics to identify sets of potential future scenarios. What would likely happen? Whether these respondent may be classified as bagsak. So for example ba, ito yung ginagawa namin. No? So for example, na-adjure kay mga students din nga mag-enroll. Kung nakabalo mo din sa University of Mindanao, sa akong university, wala pa lang na sila nagsugod og review, kabalo na gid sa mo bagsak. So yun, saan yung pagkabalo mo bagsak na siya, ana-ana? Because we already have trained a specific model to detect their grades from the very beginning. Apart from the grades, we also track their review scores or review performances in the second year and third year, something like that. And then makabalo na gid ni ana kung kinsa dili ang ginatawag nato na star students. Ano ang star students? Students at risk. So for example, based sa iyang major grade niya sa iyang mga major, ma-consider na siya nga star because it is likely that the student will incur a grade of ing-ani sa iyang board exam kung magpadayon siya sa ing-ani nga performance. So that's predictive analytics. Wala pa siya lahitabo, pero tagana kaniya og likely scenario. Pero dili mi mag-decide automatically based on that preemption because ang predictive analytics is only telling us half of the story. Wa man ta kabalo basta ikalit na siya bright sa actual review unya nagtap siya sa board exam performance. That's already a question on the reliability of your model in there. But what would be the benefit of having predictive analytics in your decision making? That's giving you sets of potential future scenarios. It's not giving you an exclusive nga mao na ginisya di man ta madam auring na kana gyud 100% kung mahitabo gyud na based sa nakapatadhana di man ta sugo di man ta bantay no nga tayo ang tinadhana na pumatay sa something char. Ang ibig sabihin nito is that it would give you alternative scenarios based on possible simulations. So sabi ng possible simulations imong ginaingon. For example, what if ang yang grade sa iyang cluster subjects kay 75, 85, 75, 90, 85, 75. Kining unom ka grades nimo sa imong 6 clusters. Unsa ka iyang likely board exam performance? Ma-predict namo na. Taganta mo isa ka example ha. Ito sa atong Google Scholar. I have a friend who's a graduate of DRA. Gistudihan niya ang pharmacy sa San Pedro kay nag-benchmark siya sa UM. So of course, I don't know, it's not Ezequiel Hernandez. It's Ezequiel Gon. So kung titingnan natin, ito yung sa kanya, probabilistic estimation of passing the pharmacist licensure examination. He's a classmate in my PhD DRA, and he's also from he's also a Eusebian, no? So ang ginawa niya, ang kanyang ginamit is ang kanyang algorithm or statistical model na ginamit is binary logistic regression and linear regression analysis. Linear regression analysis is statistical in nature. Logistic regression is statistical, but it also has an algorithm that represents logit analysis. So kung titingnan natin, ano ang ginawa niya? Ang ginawa niya is pinagbasehan niya ang 6 na cluster subjects na performance sa mock board rating ng students ng pharmacy. Tiningnan niya whether this contributes to to the probability of passing the board exam. So ano ang ginawa niya? In-identify niya if in case merong significant predictors ba ito in passing the board exam, and then nag-simulation siya using predictive analytics. So for example, kung ang imo dong general weighted average is 85, ang imong grado sa imong review kay 80, 80, 80, 80, 80, 80. What would then be the possibility nagpasar niya sa board exam? Makapasar ba niya sa board exam? Dili. Makapasar daw siya, pero ang iyang rating would be 78.13. What if nagkamali ka, sir? What if 85 ang iyang? Well, at least 78.30, but at least pasar. Because the probability that he will get 78.13, at least 78.13, is 99.8%. But how cool is that? If in case ang imong grade is 85, 70, ang imong grado tanan, pasar ba ka bagsak? Of course, bagsak yung ka. If in case 95 imong weighted average, o 90, 90, 90 ka, well, you are predicted na mag-top sa board exam, 92.62. If in case ang imong grade is 90 ang imong GWA, 90 tanan ang imong something, kumbaga kani 95 ang grade no, na 90 tanan. Na ang grade nimo kay 90, well, 87.40, makapasar gyapon ka. Pero kung 85 imong general weighted average, 72 lang imong performances sa imuhang exam, so ang imuhang prediction is 74.91. So ma-imagine ninyo, class, how cool is that if we know this particular skill set, dapat mag-improve in terms of teaching. Kung nakita natin na ang Area 5 and Area 6 are the ones that pull down the chance of passing the board exam, that's already a question for your teachers teaching that subject. Bakit siya bumabagsak dito? Bakit mababa ang coefficient nito? Bakit sa regression model, minus talaga itong dalawa? So that means there could be possible, kung magra-rationalize ka, tanungin mo yung mga graduates, sino ba lang ang nagturo sa'yo sa subject na to? Sasabihin, si ganito, si ganyan, si ganyan. Ay, mangkas man na siya, di man na siya musulod ng klase. So there you have it. Kaya sila hindi pumapasa because that particular teacher is not really doing his job or teaching that subject well. So you have already a decision based on that scenario building. So ganon ang predictive analytics. Done so that this will not happen, and prescriptive, what should be done if this happens? What should be done now that it happens? Okay, so iba-iba ang kanyang konteksto, but since we are here understanding predictive analytics, I would be teaching you skill sets starting next lecture, starting from the basic simple linear regression, and then multiple linear, and then hierarchical, stepwise, and the logistic. We're going to discuss that next Saturday so that we can actually know prediction processes using different types of data sets. Okay, so prescriptive analytics, it's also analytics. It's automatically prescribe and take action. So maganda na kapag you are an ISO certified organization, meron ka ng systems in place that could be a prescription to existing problems that you may or may not have predicted. So for example, inig mag-risk analysis me. Based on that prediction model nga among na-develop, may yun dahil sa program heads. Sige, mag-reflect ani sa atong SWOT analysis. This is already a threat because we might have put teachers here, or this could be the hiring of unqualified and unskilled teachers, even if sila, graduate sila of pharmacy, something like that. This could be a threat. This could be a weakness, no? So i-reflect na namo dito. Unya, tanaw namo ang result sa prediction model unsa how accurate is the model. So let's say 85% accurate. Nada may risk treatment and a risk level ana. So this may happen 85% chance, something like that. So mag-assign na mig-score dira nga 4 times the occurrence. Whether you accept, you ignore, or you just, So ing ana ang prescription namo sa prediction process na among gibuhat. So apart from the analytics, of course, what's important is your reporting. May imagine in your class na you would be commissioned by the management to do this prediction. Tapos imuha nang explainan diha ang XCOM o taas kayo ang R-square, taas kayo ang variance ani. There is taas kaayo ang iyahang interquartile range. Pitok-pitok gid ang mataan na nila. So what's good if in case you are engaged in data analytics is that you're going to make that particular finding in your simulation, translate it into easily understandable or easily digestible information that that is stripped with statistical technicality. So for example, mingon baka ana, instead of reporting that an increase of ingani, the beta coefficient of ingani by 1 point increases your outcome by ana, si Teres Paribo, gumana siya class. Mingon ka R square is 0.786 and the adjusted R square or delta R square is something like that. Hindi sila kasabot ana. But if you will see nga, mamang ato agong grades ma'am kay maka-explain or maka-determine good sa pasit kanang kwan good isa good sa mga basis na mapasar ang estudyante. Tapos mag-contribute siya ma'am if in case magtaas ang ilang grado og 1 point, ang ilang pong pagpasar sa board exam mo increase po by 12%. So, mas dali siya i-understand, no? That's basically laymanizing your information in there. Now here comes your context. How are you going to create and how are you going to create recommendations based on that finding? What finding, what particular information can you prescribe in order to make use of your predictive analytics? Okay, so reporting is as good as your analytics. Your reporting should identify patterns and relationships and make it appear that it's easily understandable by non-data science persons. Okay? Because especially kung PhD tayo sa USEP, or especially DRA tayo, or especially kapag dumaan tayo sa predictive analytics, matitest mo gaano kakagaling if in case you can laymanize these concepts to lay people. Okay? Na hindi mo sila i-overwhelm ng technicalities to the point that they don't want to decide anymore because of the complexity of your proposal. But rather, they can immediately decide because you were able to laymanize it for them. Okay, so as important as analytics and reporting, processing is also important. So we're going to discuss more of this in unsupervised machine learning. So data preparation for analysis, that includes feature extraction, data engineering, artificial sampling or resampling, as well as missing data and outlier analysis. Okay. So all of those can be done for big data, whether they are structured or unstructured. Okay, so dili na natin siya i-discuss. These are some curriculum na offer ang data analytics. So I will show you this example, no? Kasi this one basically is an example of a system that integrates databases, that integrates information, that integrates various softwares to register your data, your metadata and your data set. Ini-upload nimo diri in a form of PDF, Excel, CSV, CDF, images, and text. And then all of these data are explained in your metadata, or it contains all of the information that defines these particular variables and itsura niya. And your repository would basically house all of these information in here, accessed by your system, and the data set and relationships are being generated in here, and then it would be thrown to you in a database using RFID and so on and so forth, and then you will now identify kung unsa ang mga specific, asa sila located, unsa ang ilang relationships, and something like that. So if you're interested to know more of this, we have the OST has a goddess project, or the good governance through data science and decision support system. They're actually opening their call for proposals. So, kailangan nila ng mga specific projects that are akin to data science and its application to specific LGUs or SMEs or NGAs. Now, this is an example of an extended use case model, or this is an example of a data flow diagram or an entity relationship diagram that shows the possible interlinkages of functions and the possible data and its structures as it applies to specific networks or specific pathways in the system that you are developing. So of course, it starts with uploading or capturing any data so that it would reveal various information, and this would be processed by system that you are developing. Okay. Now, remember that before, the conventional scientific paradigm is actually more grounded in scientific method that challenges existing institutions established by religions. No? So This national and international data landscape has drawn attention to the need for a reassessment of priorities to recognize that in the new data era that we're living in, the burden of making data and information usable shifts from the user to the provider. So bakit no una ang data science ang research nagfo-focus sa respondents. Ngayon hindi na respondents ang focus ng ating data analytics. It's more of identifying whether the systems are capable of housing this data set for future scenario building. So, and thus in less than 10 years, you can expect that all of these would actually be a normal thing, a normalcy in the actual organization, or, decision making nowadays would actually be more easy or easier, and is more common if in case we would encourage data-driven culture. Yan ang mahirap ngayon sa Pilipinas because data-driven culture is still a long way. And before I end my session, we believe that whoever holds the data holds the power. Okay, so that means if in case you have the data and you have the skill set, then you have power and influence in the decision making process. Okay, so usually ba subjective ng ginatawag? Are you familiar with data saturation sa quali? Basig balik-balik ilang gitubag because wa nimo na probe og tarong. May subjective baya ang ginatawag nato na kung anong subjective baya ang ginatawag nato na ang qualitative research baya, guys, you are the research instrument. So kung di ka kabalo mo remember ha, ang kanang focus group discussion guide ninyo, questions rana, papel rana siya, but the data collecting instrument in a qualitative research is you as the person or you as the researcher, because you observe and you take it down. You ask, you probe, you live with them, and that's basically, you are the data gathering machine, kumbaga. So what I'm saying is that it's good that you have expertises, but do not compromise your data. No? You need to check whether there is a need for you to collect these data, whether there is a necessity for you to do algorithms. Kayo ang bahala niyan sa dissertation ninyo. Ako in the future, I could guide you on the statistics, I could guide you in the data analysis, I'm trained for data for quantity and quality. Wala tayong problema doon. Wag lang umabot sa point na sir, ibutang na ko ang pangalan sa analysis sa akong dissertation para naa siya Vega factor. Kanang ginatawag nato nga murag para kurog factor ka yung dissertation, kanang ginatawag for example prediction of oil prices of the Philippines using multi-layer perceptron neural network analysis. Para kurog factor gani ang dating. Hindi naman kailangan ganon, no? Because your tool is just like an instrument. Your statistical analysis is just like a way for you na maligo ka. Mabasa ramang gihapon ka, magkabo ba ka, magamit ba kag baso, magkuan ba ka, shower ba ka, mura nang basa. But which would be the suitable mechanism for you para mabasa? So dili nimo kinahanglan ipaglandakan sa imong title nga sumigaw na siya nga kabo imong gigamit sa pag-analyze ani nga problem. It's sufficient as a dissertation. It's sufficient na nga ang mag-screen diha sa imong hardbound is your topic. Let's say, redefinition of the dimensions of quality of life of prisoners. Ganun lang. Because that's the very dissertation that you have. You're focused on the philosophy and the theory and the praxis of it, not on the tool nga paggamit nimo sa pagluto sa imuhang sudan. Ang focus is pinakbet, not the luwag that is used to ukay the pinakbet. So kayo bahala, no? But that's a very, very valid takeaway. That's a very good question. Kasi I know that you're already you're already at that particular stage na hala no, kung maka-learn ko yung anis klase ni Sir JD, for sure madali na ako ang dissertation, and that's normal, that's perfectly fine, no? That's also the remark of other learners like you guys na baka nanguragig makakuan ka nga, bitaw no, ano kailangan ko mag-quali nga, pwede man ako algorithm akong gamito na, I big data diha, di na ako mag-survey, na I kaggle data diha, pwede na ako na dissertation. But then it also depends on you. Kasi saan dyan ang theory? Meron ka ngang data, meron alam mo na kung paano iyan i-analyze, pero then again ituhog man na nimo sa current problem. Ano ba ang reason nga mag-deep learning ka sa X-ray nga mga images? What are the developmental theories and your relatability with that? Diba? Kaya good sa ako a class. Ang ani mo gid akong dissertation katong livability index of Philippine cities. No? So ang ako ato is nagamit ko secondary data that is data mined from different websites. Nagamit ko og algorithm ato Diyos, nagamit ko og Tableau, nagamit ko og nag-desk review ko, nag-systematic review ko unsa ang mga variables nga gigamit mo. Daghan ko gibuhat sa akong papel kay kinalaging giingon sila nga ay kung mag-FA kag CFA, very common sa imo JV kay ikaw ginatudlo na nimo sa masteral nagaana nakamurag. Kumbaga, your dissertation is not fitting for that simple tool. Bahalag sa imong mga classmates ginagamit na nila pero ikaw dili nga. So ingana ang pressure sa akong chairman sa akong panel nga ang pangalan Rec Igia. Nga na daw magkuan ko og ingana nga kaya ra man daw nako mas taas pa ana. So gikan ka Curtin University so siya wa tay makutlo diha nga mga bag-ong pangtulon anak man class. Kung magkwali po daw ko, nagdali ra daw ko. Kaya ko nga, unsa man jud uy, unsa ba yung gusto na big data yung gusto ba? Gusto niya nga ng data, something like that. Until such time, nagsakay ko jeep. Tapos kini akong pagkareklamador magud nga gabaha sa obrero sig baha diri. Uy, sige na di gid walkable unya perting kita kang perting gamay lang ulan dra sa Yusef Obrero nga mag tagatuhod na ang something. Na mingon nga na din ko ato, money life is here dili sa Davao perting baha. So dito ko nag-ingon, life is here. Bitaw no, Davao City is promoted nga kung muli ka mo puyo, life is here. Pero tan-awon daw nato kung ato ang i-ranking ang similar cities like Davao City, kinsa ka ang pinaka-livable nila. That is where I found my niche. You need to have that specific discomfort. You need to have that experience. You need to have that context for you to tuhog your data and for you to know your tools. Because basically, your tools will now drive you para maligo baka, mag-bake baka og cake. Basig nagdala kag kabo pero ang imong intention di ay mangguna. So it has to match. It has to match. The problem should match with the topic should know your topic. You should know the problem. You should know the theories. That's why may development theories kayo na subject. Tapos kailangan alam nyo din kung ano ang tools na gagamitin and the way to carry out that. It has to be parallel so that everyone is in sync. And if in case, bisan unsan kag bali-balikon ana sa imong panel, especially sa panel nga ginganlan nato Rec Igia nga akong idol, di jud ka maliba. Because you already know that dissertation perfectly represents your being and personality. So how about Nico? What is your key takeaway? Nakamute ka din, Nico. Dami ko lang sinasabi, no?
Morning. My takeaway, Doc, is relating it to my profession. Upon hearing with your discussion, I can see that predictive analysis could help a lot when it comes to nursing practice. For example, the biggest problem we're experiencing now in the healthcare industry is the exodus of nurses going out. So we can set prediction on when to expect kanus ani sila mamalik. So since dili nato mapugngan ang ilang paghawa, i-predict na po nato.
Ba kanang mag-predict ka silang pagbalik or mag-predict ka silang paghawa?
Both ang prediction mo ang Dok, ang paghawa is magdaghan nag-analysis. So dito na punta kanus sila mabalik na pwede nato mapakinabangan unsay learnings nila outside, which is mao ang ginabuhat namo karon. Since wala may mga bagong nurses, we encourage nga katong namalik na from abroad, mo employ sa mua, even if almost retirable na sila, we accept them. Yes, okay. Dito na mo makita unsa ang knowledge nga dala nila from outside nga pwede na lang madala dinhi. To improve the practice of nursing.
It's quite challenging because that's not the conventional literature,
yes,
like returning, intention to return. Ang mga studies kasi nato sa human resource karon, it's more about predicting intention to leave or intention to stay. Diba? Leave and
Yes,
stick
sir.
is kuan, but returning is a different scenario. So
Yes,
kana,
sir.
that's a very good direction for you. But then, would you really predict their return, or would you rather explore why would they return?
And that's a question nga pwede
Oh,
na ako
diba?
explore,
So,
sir. Yes.
kasi kung ang paradigm mo would be predicting, that would be difficult because there's no scalable number of data that could warrant prediction.
Okay.
But if in case you would explore it as a case, whether there is that is specific phenomenon that those who left may return, that could be something. That's a new information. And when you conduct studies related to it, even if it's qualitative or even if it's phenomenology or even if it's case study, when a lot of researchers like you would now explore that, then it would now be high time for you to do prediction based on different variables that may have been qualitatively shared to you as the researcher. So, it could be prediction, it could be anticipation, or it could be more of knowing why they return and what is it for them to return. Something like this. So I
Yes,
do
Doc.
hope that this class would be excited.
Yes.
You would be ayo lang gid mo kas ayo lang gid mo ka sir, tama na sir, undangin na ning bright. Inadyo ko di na ko ingon no nga nadyo isa ka klase last time nga nag-ingon gud nga sir kapuya mag bright sir uy kay machine learning lagi. So I would try to laymanize it as much as possible, contextualize it in different applications. So you would appreciate more on it later, no? Then again, as I've mentioned, hindi ko naman kayo pahihirapan sa klasiko, and the husband of Ma'am Emily can attest to it, na bahalag na nga stress sila sa kanang algorithms. They were still able to really appreciate the learning and they got higher grades. Grado lang naman yan. So anyway, we are here to learn and not to really for the lack of the term, I don't know. Basta, you just attend class and you would just join the discussions. Think about how it would help you in the dissertation writing process. And it doesn't stop there, because once you become doctors or you would become practitioners, you need to spread it to others. You need to use it in your organization so that we could encourage data-driven culture or data-driven decision-making as a culture. So if in case you have questions, kung mag face-to-face ta, I'm still settling it. I will settle it on Monday, ha? Kaya ako po, I find it very uncomfortable na taga Cebu, taga Surigao or taga Caraga mo, adto pa og Davao, or katong asa naman to si Sir, katong statistician gani nato.
Madronero.
Nathan.
Si Nathan, wala gi
Sir
si Nathan
Jonathan.
karon.
Pero Doc, gi-settle na kagaina kay murag nag-istorya si
Ako, Doc.
Ay, na Nathan, sorry. How about Jonathan kasi ang nakalagay dito. Sorry. So ano yung settlement ninyo with your program head?
Doc,
Kasi ako magsunod lang
si
ako.
Doc Jo kagaina murag nag-istorya na sila ni Dean, and murag na ang decision is only Kokoy kang from Cebu can have the once a month lang na face to face, but all the rest like kami from Butuan, it doesn't matter, mag face to face gid gihapon mi og first and third.
Sige lang, magklase ra man po ko. If in case nga kanang gisugtan ka, dito ra mangyam ko sa Yusef magklase og kanang online, no? Kay kailangan mo be physically present on the day nga dapat present me. But nevertheless, I would welcome you. We will look for alternative ways to make it high flex or hybrid. Like for example, naamo dito and at the same time naka-Zoom si Sir kay naa siya og Cebu. But let's work around on things if in case it's possible, and I do hope that I would really strive to make our learning experience uncompromisable. Kanto lang siguro, and I hope you enjoy your lunch. I'll stop the recording. The recordings will be shared to you if in case you're interested. And I do hope that you learn.
Recording stopped.
You have learned a lot from my class, and you will learn a lot in your upcoming classes this afternoon. Bye, guys.
Doc,
Yes.
matagaan mi nimo atong imong PowerPoint.
Oh, sure. Ako siyang i-upload na ko. Wala pa man ko nag-set up good sa inyong kuan good. Mag-set up sa ako hata sa akong i-upload.
Thank
Okay,
you
kung
po.
gusto niyo sa group chat, ako i-share sa group chat. No
Thank
problem.
you very much, Doc. Thank you
Thank you,
kaayo.
Doc.
Bye, everyone. Happy learning.
Thank you, Doc. Bye-bye.
Thank you kaayo.